Good morning, everybody. We're in the series of Mark Sherman fly tying, and it's a beautiful morning here in Livingston, Montana, and I'm about to put on my most beautiful, it's a beautiful morning here in Montana.
Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. I have a wonderful feeling. Big fish are coming our way.
It's very important to sing that in the morning. We're going to tie a beetle for this morning's demonstration. A couple of things needed. Well, Bill Skilton out in Pennsylvania, actually in Boiling Springs, Pennsylvania, 717-258-0642. Not that I want to get free materials, but we have his Bill Skilton foam and Bill Skilton. His beetle eggs surpass all beetle eggs. I highly advise you. And his foam is actually a special cell foam, surgically used, but transferred into the fly tying population. For the body, you have your choice of, I particularly like peacock curl, but you can use an ice chenille. So this ice chenille is very nice. You can use anything you want, depending on the beetles in your local area. I do like a scud hook, and the scud hook has a curve. You want a thin wire scud hook. I have a little trouble picking it up because, as I mentioned in my previous, you must use an iPad magnetic screen in front of you, but if it's really magnetic, the hook sticks, and you can't pick the hook off the... But this is a scud hook. What's nice about a scud hook is that it has a wide gap, which is very good for beetles, because with beetles, you tend not to hook a lot of fish. Don't ask me why. It could be because of the way I fish, but... my brother Gary has a lot of trouble hooking fish on beetles.
And everything else.
And a lot of other things. This vise is particularly annoying to me, but maybe it's because I don't know how to use it. And we're going to put our hook in the vise and we're going to begin.
You have to tighten this one first, and then you tighten that one.
Thank you, Gary. It's nice to have an audience. The thread for a beetle, as with the Chernobyl, should be a thick thread. A very strong thread that's hard. That's hard to rip like that. See, this thread ripped fairly easily, but whenever you re-thread, remember to cut, because if it's a little frayed at the end, it can be very difficult to get it into the tube to suck it through. So if you do rip your thread, remember that. It's a very important tip, and whenever you're sucking it through, give it a little slack, and you got it to go. You will now always prep the body. So put a layer of thread on the body, and a nice beetle should go all the way a little bit beyond the curve, as far down as you can go. So you want to start when you're tying in low down. When you cut your beetle, you should have a straight scissor, so that you cut your beetle material nice and straight, and you can make it as wide, thinner beetles. Again, the beauty of fly tying is that it's like art. That you can modify as you like, and that's what really I think makes it so enjoyable, because then you're using your own creation. Now, there are two ways to do a beetle. You can do a single layer, which saves material, which is nice, and it actually lays the beetle flatter on the surface. But I'm going to show a little harder technique, because this one you have to measure more properly to double the foam. So when you double the foam, you now have to look at the foam against the hook to get a measurement, because you're going to cut it when it's doubled. So I always over it, because you can always trim it back. But I just cut the foam a little bit there. That's about the right size. So I now cut it. And the side that you're going to tie, which is the free end right here, you're going to taper it with your scissor to cut it at an angle to tie it in. So I cut it at a 45 angle. So now you have like a little V. And that's going to be the part to tie in. And you go again, you tie it in more towards the back of the hook. And it should be a good thread, and don't be afraid. The further down you go, the more realistic the beetle will look, because now when you're going to roll it over, it starts from the way in the back. That's going to give you an idea how the beetle looks, to see if you're measured properly. Because if you didn't, now's the time to do it, because you'll be very aggravated if after you tie the whole fly, the beetle does not pull over to the end. That is a very aggravating thing. Next is the legs, and again, there's nothing like the beetle legs from Bill Skilton. So Bill, thank you for your beetle legs. And if anyone orders because of this video, 10% would be appropriate. But it's not ethical in the medical profession, but I think it is ethical in the fly tying world, that you can take a piece of the action. Okay, so when you do your legs, you cut the leg, and then you fold the leg in half. So I'll show you so that you have the legs folded. And it doesn't really matter how long because you can trim it later. So if you make a mistake, always err on the long side. And up towards the front of the hook, if this is the mid, I'm a little bit past the mid, but again, that probably doesn't matter too much. It's your own preference. I just tie it at an angle. So I lay it across, I tie it at an angle, then I go on the other side and I figure 8 it. And then once I have that, you can see that's the loop. I cut that. So I open it up. And now with your fingers, you can spread them apart a little bit. And then the thread helps to spread it apart. So you use the thread to spread your legs. So I go like this. Again, you can make figure of 8s. You can bring it forward a little bit, just like that. And that spreads the legs out. And now they do get in the way, so you push them forward temporarily with your fingers. As I said, in this case, I'm going to use peacock. So I take a triple. I'm going to just take 3. You can take 4. It doesn't matter. The thickness of your body. And it's very good. You just, again, you don't have to use your thumb. Just tie it in pretty quickly. And you go up to the front of the fly. And now you use the 3 and watch your tip of your hook. You got to angle it because otherwise you will cut your peacock. So with the 3-some, you do it like this, and then you come through between the legs. That's nice because that helps spread the legs apart. Push the legs back with your finger. You don't even need, if it's getting crowded on the head, don't bother. Remember, you never want a crowded head because that gets in your way. So that's it. So now I have a nice fuzzy body. I cut it. We're almost done. It's a little early for wine. You know, wine is an important part of this whole process. So now you bring it over, and what's really nice about the foam is that this foam stretches. So that's what separates Bill's foam from all foams. So that you see I captured it with one. That's why you need a strong thread, because that has to pull it down. You do 2 or 3 right in a row. Now some people, by the way, don't like a little bulge in the front of the Beetle. I do. So I leave that. Some people trim it and just cut it short, no bulge. But there's, you almost have the complete fly. And because I'm a blind bat, I like a little indicator. Our friend in New Zealand, Boris, gets agita every time we use an indicator. Because in New Zealand, if the orange falls face down on your cast, that can spook a trout. So if you don't feel like using an indicator, you can use a black indicator, by the way. A black indicator would be nice in glary water, because then you'd see it. So that's another way to do it. I just trim it. And in the exact location that I did the last 2, I do a couple like this. There we go. I don't want to capture that leg. So I captured that leg by mistake. And that happens. You got to be careful about that, because that leg's getting in my way. By the way, if you cut the leg off by mistake, don't feel badly. It happens occasionally. You have a 3-legged beetle. I never saw a trout say no. So you put that in. And then we're done. I put one in front. And then I use my half hitch tool. And I use it a couple of times. And of course we're going to trim the indicator. And voila. You can trim it a little closer because you really don't need that big an indicator for a beetle. Trim it down a little bit too. And there you have your beetle. Now we'll trim the legs. Those legs are a little long, so now's the time to trim it. Turn it over. I can trim that leg. I trim this one, and now we got our beetle. There we go. Pretty little beetle.
Very nice. Turn it over.
Who's that fly, Mark?
And here's a man who's coming to steal a fly. Oh, we have a new addition. Hi, Richie Lee.
Oh, you're filming?
We're filming, Rich.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. We're going to film it soon. Okay, have a good day.